All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our special Tuesday webinar. We're super pumped to have a bonus webinar for you today. And I already see some familiar names in the chat. I'd love to know where you are joining from and what's your weather. Jen is already on it. She's saying it's cold and windy. I would say probably the same thing here in Halifax. It's like kind of a gloomy day. And yes, Cassandra, it does look like Big Marker got a little bit of an update. Some things are looking a little fresh, a little new. So if I make any mistakes managing the webinar, I'll just blame it on that. But it's nice to see, like I said, some familiar faces, maybe, or faces, names, I mean. And while everyone's trickling in, I think we'll get started. So if you are not familiar, we are HeyOrca. So we're a social media management tool for teams and agencies. And we have unlimited users, among many other tools that you can use to manage your social media. And if you're interested, we are HeyOrca on all platforms. You can find us across social, or at the top of the chat there, you should see a little blue link that says try HeyOrca for free. You can go and do that if you are so inclined. Okay, we'll do a couple little intros before we get started. So my name's Lyle. I'm the product marketing manager here at HeyOrca, and I'm super excited because Holly is here with us today. So Holly, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, I'm Holly Vaughn. I am the social media manager at Civilian Agency, and I'll get into everything civilian in just a little bit. And yeah, I am currently in San Diego, and we have been experiencing some unusual rain and storms. So not the typical San Diego weather, that is for sure.
You know what, Holly? At least it's not snow.
Yeah, I haven't experienced that yet. That would be concerning, honestly.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
No. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so just a couple little things before we jump in. We do have a Just for Fun LinkedIn poll up. So I'm curious today because I know that Holly's going to touch on a couple of her favorite HeyOrca tools. So I'm curious, if you do use HeyOrca, what's your favorite HeyOrca tool? So the HeyOrca team is going to drop the link to that in the chat, and I'd love to see your answers. Again, that one's just for fun, but we do have one where you have the chance to win. So our more official like giveaway, contest, prize, whatever you want to call it today, it's the same as usual. We're just asking you to share on LinkedIn something you learned from the webinar. And as Alyssa always says, a really helpful trick or tip for this is to just take a screenshot of one of Holly's slides that you find really inspirational or helpful and use that to build your post. So if you do that on Monday at noon, since this is a Tuesday webinar, on Monday at noon, I'm going to randomly choose a winner to win a $50 Amazon gift card. And just remember in your post to tag us so that we can see that. And with that, I am going to pass it over to Holly to get started.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So today I'm going to be talking about powering campaigns for social good, how Civilian Agency uses HeyOrca to build community. So our agenda for today, I'll start by talking about who Civilian is, what we do, the kind of clients and campaigns that we work on. I'll also then get into 5 challenges that we often run into and kind of the solutions that we've found to those challenges and the different tools we use to execute those solutions as well. And then a Q&A after that. So I will go ahead and get started. So who is Civilian? On the surface, we are a values-driven San Diego marketing agency. But going a little bit deeper, we only take on work that matters to us. So kind of at the core of it, what we're doing with that work is we're creating world-changing campaigns that exceed metrics and move people. So why do we call ourselves Civilian? Well, we draw no distinction between our company's interests and those of the public. So basically, if we're making more money, then we're doing more good. But what makes our campaigns unique? So our campaigns all have a message with purpose. And a lot of the messages and the campaigns that we've done before are related to topics like mental health, public health, education, environmental efforts. And then also we work with a lot with nonprofits too. Um, so with these kinds of campaigns, these messages and messages with purpose, we do definitely have unique goals as well. So we're not really just trying to generate leads. We're not trying to sell things, make purchases. We're trying to really create social change in communities. And then our KPIs and how we measure this change is also unique. Again, we're not measuring in dollars. We're mostly trying to measure awareness, engagement, and community growth. So the different social KPIs specifically that we're really looking at when it comes to measuring awareness are definitely views and reach. Likes, comments, reposts, shares, saves, and clicks are what we're really looking at to measure our engagement. And then also we definitely want to measure our community. And so we definitely look at follower growth for that. But then I'll talk about some of our clients and some of the campaigns that we've done this work through. So the first client and campaign that I'll talk about is a campaign called Never a Bother. So this is for the California Department of Public Health's Office of Suicide Prevention. That was our client for this campaign. And the goals of the campaign were to increase awareness of suicide prevention resources, increase self-efficacy, and really just help people reach out if they need help and raise awareness of suicide prevention. Specifically, this was targeted towards audiences in California, mostly youth up to 25, and then also parents and caregivers of youth. So that's who we were really speaking to through this campaign. We also called it Never a Bother because we spoke to youth in this demographic and, said, why don't you reach out? Why don't you talk about mental health? Like, what's kind of a barrier for you? And a lot of them had said that they didn't want to feel like a bother. So that's just a little bit of background as to the name of the campaign, Never a Bother, to really make them feel like they are never bothered. They can talk about these things. But specifically on social, we brought this campaign to TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and Facebook to reach these audiences. And so that's just a little bit of background about this campaign for this client specifically. But I'll definitely go into more of the strategy on social and some of the content that we've created for this campaign as well in a bit. But before that, I'm going to talk about our next campaign, which is called Live Beyond. And this campaign had a similar audience, youth up to 25, caregivers, and parents of youth as well. But this was for the California Office of the Surgeon General. And the goal of this campaign was to increase awareness of the negative health impacts of what are called ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences. So things like neglect, abuse, domestic violence in the home, and a lot more that people have experienced below the age of 18. So these things can really affect the health of a person well into adulthood. So through this campaign, we really wanted to increase awareness of that. And then we brought this as well to the same platforms, the same social platforms as the Never Bother campaign, which are TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. And then again, I'll show some more content examples and strategy in a little bit for this one. But the last client that I'll talk about is the Prebis Foundation. So this is one of the biggest nonprofit foundations in San Diego. They do amazing work across the county. Their audiences are a little bit different than the last two campaigns that I spoke about. It's not as youth-centered, although they do a lot of work with youth development. But their audiences are more towards industry professionals and then also San Diego residents just across the county. A large thing for all of these campaigns is inclusivity and reaching underrepresented audiences. So that's definitely something that I'll talk about in a little bit, more of how we've done that, but that's definitely something that we do in a lot of our work. So goals for this client specifically on social are more employee engagement and recruitment, client engagement, business development, and then really just showcasing their
Thank you, Jesse. I was muted. I was just saying, let me know in the chat if Holly's frozen for you, and we'll give her a second and hopefully she comes back. I think she'll come back. In the meantime, I guess you might be stuck with me. I'm curious in the chat. I think someone asked this question earlier, but I'd love to know who here works at an agency or works at a nonprofit. If you have those answers, let me know in the chat. Okay, we have a nonprofit, Emma. Oh, lots of nonprofits. Awesome. For those who are working at a nonprofit, we do have a second nonprofit webinar. I was going to say tomorrow, not tomorrow, Thursday, not tomorrow, but the next day. During our regular time slot, we have a nonprofit webinar. So if you're not registered for that already, get on it. And I think I see Holly might be back. So, oh, there she is.
I'm so sorry. I don't know. Yeah, my Wi-Fi totally cut out, of course. So I have my hotspot on, and yeah, should be all good.
Okay, awesome. If it gets choppy, maybe we'll turn your video off, but for right now, it sounds good. We'll blame it on Cloudflare and we'll continue.
Yes. Okay, absolutely. Where did I leave off?
I think you were just telling us about this client's priorities. Like they have funding, but their goals were like employee retention or something like that. Sorry if I got that wrong.
No, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm not sure exactly where it cut off, but yes, so their goals are a little bit different. They're really just trying to spread the awareness and core values that they work on. They really want to amplify the grantees that they support and different nonprofits around the county that they support. So really their goals were just to increase awareness of the work that they're doing across San Diego County. And then a little bit different platforms that we've posted on for them, since their audience is a little bit different. Definitely LinkedIn is huge. We've also posted a lot on Instagram and Facebook. That's been great for reaching community. And then we've also been posting on both Blue Sky and Threads for them as well. All right. So with unique pains, unique clients, we definitely run into some unique challenges. The first one is really, how are we making our content engaging for social while including some heavier and more serious topics like suicide prevention, adverse childhood experiences. A lot of the nonprofits that we're supporting, they're facing a lot of challenges. So how do we include these messages while still making the content fun and engaging? So a couple solutions that we use. The first one is really just, bring entertainment and impact together and leaning into the social media culture, language, and landscape. We don't want to shy away from, trends and memes and things that people are really enjoying on social. We want to still include that. But it's a lot about knowing when to include the right message at the right time with the right audiences. And so, we don't exactly want to talk about suicide prevention and resources while, having something that's more focused on humor and levity. So when do we have certain messages with different content? And for that, we like to use a diverse content funnel that kind of makes sure that we put the right messages with the right content. So an example of this funnel, I'll show for the Never a Bother campaign. So again, this is our suicide prevention campaign for youth. And what I have here at the top is the content that is really speaking to audiences that aren't familiar yet with the campaign. So this is going to be things like memes, trends, UGC, humor, inspiration, hope core. And we're not exactly going to be speaking to the core message of the campaign in this kind of content. It's something that everyone can kind of connect to. We're not getting into that heavier topic yet, but just kind of lighter, fun things that still can relate back to the message and still fit in the feed. And I'll show some examples of that, but not totally focused completely on, resources and things like that yet. But once that audience is more familiar with the campaign, then we get into things like educational content, warning signs, prevention tips, personal stories, also UGC kind of throughout this funnel. But just making it a little bit easier to get into those more educational topics. And then once that audience is a little bit more familiar, we want to get them involved in the campaign. So we want to give them calls to action. We want to give them resources. We're sharing real stories of people who are getting involved in the campaign. And then we're also involved in our community with events and things like that. So we're posting that kind of content as well. But some examples of this. So I'll start with that kind of top level content for that unfamiliar audience, things that we have some memes here, some trends. We have like suspect trend here. And this is just all content that, again, it's not heavy yet. It's not super serious. It's just something that everyone can relate to and get them more interested in the campaign. And then from there, we have some more content for some more familiar audiences. So things like suicide warning signs, ways that people can support friends who may be struggling or needing help or attempted suicide, and then ways to ask for help. So a little bit more educational focused. And then this is specific to organic social as well. But for the involved audience, here's some examples that we have as well. So we were actually able to get Megan Thee Stallion to participate in this campaign, which was incredible. So she shared her story on social, and that was really amazing because it was very real, and it was a different side of her than she shares a lot on social. We also had an activation at Coachella for this campaign, which was amazing. So we were able to speak with people there and have them share their stories. And then we also just have an example of some resources that we've shared on social as well. All right. And so then similar kind of structure here as well for the Beyond campaign, where at the top, again, for that unfamiliar audience, we have things like inspirational content, hope core, well-being, stress tips, trends, and then we get into a little bit more educational content, talking about what are the ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, ways that they can address that and address what is called toxic stress, which can come from those experiences. So more of that educational content, and then at the bottom, calls to action, real stories, resources, and events. So examples of that top level content, we have some trends, some really just easy things that people can connect to want to learn more about this campaign. Next, a little bit more educational content. So some tips for how people can deal with their toxic stress, bust toxic stress, ways they can ask for help, and then just, a little bit more information about what ACEs are. And then here's some examples of more of our involved content. So we have some resources, some crisis support for youth. We have also a streamer named Valkyrae, if you guys know who she is. She also participated in this campaign, shared her real story on a stream, which was amazing. People really connected to that. And so it was great to have her involved in this campaign. And then we have a real youth who we connected with and included in this campaign to share their story, as well as many more who've shared their stories, and then just some content from an event activation as well. Awesome. So then the next one I'll talk about, again, for the Prebys Foundation, a little bit different here. At the top, we have more things like holiday content, local news, culture, and then we get into more information about like their initiatives, their announcements, the impact they're making across San Diego County. And then we definitely highlight and like their grantee organizations a lot and the work that they're doing. And then at the bottom, more similar, ways that, calls to action get people to participate and support the foundation and their grantees. We also share real stories from people who work for the grantee organizations, and then also resources as well. So just a few examples. We had some content for Hispanic Heritage Month, some just inspirational content, some local news that the Prebys Foundation was featured in, and some more content that's specific to their grantees and the work that they're doing across San Diego County. So these are all real photos from real grantee organizations and nonprofits that they support. And then this photo on the left is of somebody who works with one of the organizations that the Prebys Foundation supports. And so they shared their story on social, which was really great. We had a lot of great photographs from that. And then some content about the one of their recent initiatives and work that they're doing, and then definitely some event content as well. All right, so I've talked a little bit about kind of the strategy that we've used to really lean into social and make the content engaging. So now I'll talk about some of the tools that we use to bring these solutions to life and kind of feed the content funnel and also keep it organized. So the first thing I do is I'm definitely consuming content. This is something I do every day. It's a really important part of just, making sure the content is relevant and seeing what trends are out there. It's also like, I can't help it. I enjoy it. I love it. So I'm definitely on the platforms. But the next thing that is really helpful, I love HeyOrca for, is the newsletters and webinars. These are great ways for me to see different trends and things that are happening on social. And I love also just seeing like different examples of how either HeyOrca is using these trends or other companies. And so it's been super helpful to just, again, feed that funnel with content. But to keep things organized, I also love the inspiration dashboard on HeyOrca. I used to just like text myself different links and things of content that I wanted to use for clients. But this is definitely more organized. It also really helps when you're working in a team and like maybe you have a brainstorm meeting where you want to look at content that you want to use. It's helpful to have it in one place and be able to include some notes on it. The next thing is calendar placeholders. So I just use the event button, create a new event to keep placeholders in the calendars, which is very helpful for all of the community events that we want to create content for, because, obviously you can't really create that too far in advance. So just helps keep it all organized. I also love content labels. So again, like I'd mentioned, I have those kind of 3 years of content that I want to make sure I'm balancing throughout the month. So these tags are really helpful to just make sure that I can see what kind of content I'm posting when and how often. All right, I also, similar with the grid preview, I can kind of see how much of the different kinds of content I'm posting throughout the month, so I get an idea if it's balanced and I get as much as I want throughout the month. It's also just helpful for, graphic design and seeing how things are sitting next to each other. So definitely love this one. All right, so the next challenge I'll talk about that I've kind of touched on a little bit is how do we speak to young, niche, or underrepresented audiences through our campaigns? It's definitely something we focus on a lot at the agency. So I will talk about some of the different things that we do to do this. So the first thing is we really try to include the audiences we're speaking to in our strategy, in our content. So we've done things like audience co-creation, where we actually find members of the community that we're trying to speak to, and we include them in the content. So maybe that's with, video of them sharing their story, or just sharing different examples of things that they've done, sending in photos. So we want to make sure that they're actually part of the campaign, and we're not just, making assumptions of how they speak to each other and the kinds of things that they want to hear. we're actually including them in the campaign and in the content. We also work with influencers. So I mentioned a couple different people that we've worked with, but this really just helps us connect to somebody who's already leading that community, who people are going to listen to, look up to. So that's been super successful for us to work with influencers. Definitely, we also collaborate with different community-based organizations and other related nonprofits, things like that. We collaborate with them in content, so we can really just build that community on social. And then we also work with content creators to create UGC, just for that really relatable, authentic content. So here are just some examples. So on the left, these are real people in our demographic for the Beyond campaign that we have had share their stories through written submission, photo, and video. So we post that on social. And then on the right is Michael the librarian, who is the new host actually of Reading Rainbow. If you guys are familiar, but that is super exciting. So he's been part of the Live Beyond campaign to talk about books and reading. That's definitely a big part of the campaign, is some amazing books that authors have shared their stories of adverse childhood experiences. So it's great to have him included in the campaign. And then some tools for success of including the audience. So audience insights is super helpful. We know who we want to talk to. We know who we're trying to reach. And so this is a great way to see, like, are we actually reaching them? Are we skewing to female, to male, to old, to young? So it's really great to just see how the content is performing with the audiences we want to reach. And this is straight off the HeyOrca reports dashboard, which is super helpful. The other thing I love from the HeyOrca reports dashboard is the top performing content list. This again just helps us see, like, what are audiences actually connecting to, what do they actually like. With the Live Beyond campaign, we've seen a ton of success with any book talk content on TikTok. So this was a great way for us to see that and really just double down on that content. All right, so our third challenge, how do we bring our clients along, improve the value of organic social? At the end of the day, Civilian is an agency. So we are in the business of client service, and we need to make sure that anything we're recommending, we have, the client is on board with. So solutions for this, we need to have streamlined approvals, clear communication, workload designation, and consistently share our results. With streamlined approvals, like, definitely something we've run into in the past is there's so many ways that people and our clients can send their feedback through, like, Teams, email, project management tools. So having all of their feedback in one place has been very, very helpful and definitely a necessity. Clear communication as well, just making sure that, especially when we're trying to get things approved through government organizations, that everything that we're sending, we're using the right language and getting it all approved. With workload designation, we definitely have different team members from our creative team and account services. So just making sure that we know who's working on what. We've also had some clients as well who like to do their own graphic design sometimes. And so splitting up different roles is important to make sure that we know what we're all working on. And then, just consistently sharing our results to make sure that we can make sure the client is happy and understands how powerful social is. So some of the tools for these solutions that we've used include different member access levels in HeyOrca. This is great. Like, sometimes I just want one person to approve one post. I don't want them peeking behind the curtain, seeing all of our content for the month. So this really just helps make sure that the right people are seeing the right content and not, getting lost in the weeds of all the different content in the calendar. Let's see. Okay, is this lagging for you guys? I'm seeing a loading signal.
I am not seeing a loading signal on my side. I see the screenshots of the HeyOrca comment, so internal and then everyone.
Perfect. Okay.
But Holly, it looks like maybe you are a teensy bit frozen. I'm going to turn off your video for you and see if that helps. But Michael, I did not curse it, but if it was me, I am so sorry. It was not on purpose. I think we're just going to wait until she's back. I see some movement. My fingers are crossed. There's one thread. I think I lost the thread, but we're chatting about it's time that we start using the word diva in a professional setting, because I really liked Holly's slide. Let me go back. This one. The client needs you, diva. I love it. All right.
Okay. So sorry. It cut out again. I think I'm back. Okay. Hopefully that will not happen again. I'll just get right back to the internal versus external comments. So it's really great to have for our team all the feedback in one place and not have to have the client see that. With different tools I've used in the past, like all of the comments are all in one place, and we don't always want them to see all of the different conversations that we're having and all of the different kind of thoughts that we're having back and forth. So it's really great to just keep that behind a wall and not have them see that, and then just show them the finished product that we were having them review. So also specific user approvals, again, like with the different government organizations we're going through.
Oh, guys, we're so close. I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving Holly's presentation. So I absolutely will sit here all day and cross my fingers that she comes back.
Okay. So sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. I really hope that is the last time. But yes, making sure that, again, with the government representatives, that we're having approved content, that the right people are approving the right things. So with the specific user approvals, we can make sure that that happens, and you can select who you need to approve the content. All right, next, reports dashboard. I definitely love this. We create sometimes quarterly, monthly, or even weekly reports for our clients. And so this is really great for just choosing the different content and the different metrics that I want to show the clients. If I had clients just kind of poking around different reports or looking at metrics themselves, that doesn't always share the full story that I want them to see, because looking at something maybe quarter over quarter, you're seeing different narrative and you're seeing different success. Like content kind of can just ebb and flow. Sometimes one month is a little quieter than the other, but if you're seeing overall the quarter is performing much better than the previous quarter, things like that are what what we want our clients to see. So we want to be in control of the metrics that we're sharing, and so that we can really highlight the different points of success. So love the reports dashboard. Love that I can really get into the nitty gritty and just see exactly all of the amazing things that are coming out of the content performance. The next, I love the audit trail. This was kind of a more recent discovery, but I love that you can see who made every change to the content and have, the receipts for that. I have had different changes happen to a post and I'm like, oh, I didn't do that. So it's great to see like where that came from. And then maybe if that was on the client side, like we can maintain our credibility as the agency and be like, hey, very professionally, of course, like this is why the content changed, because the client maybe made a change on accident. So again, just great for helping us maintain our credibility. All right. Challenge number 4. So how do we manage a growing community? Well, definitely the solution for this that I found is daily community management and engagement, to just, again, stay on those platforms and make sure that our community feels heard and involved. So some tools for success. love the inbox, love that we can see all of the comments, mentions, DMs all in one spot, especially if we're having multiple team members do the community management. This is really helpful to not have to give everyone access to every platform. You can just have them in HeyOrca and they can manage the community. Also love the brand monitoring to see like who is engaging with our content the most, who do we really want to make sure that we are engaging with back. So love this as well. All right. And then challenge number 5, our last one. How do we keep up with constantly changing platforms, new trends, and just the overall social media marketing industry? Okay, so solution number 1, be a social media user. Definitely really helpful to just know what's going on, keep up with trends, see what I'm really liking, what I'm engaging with, and what I think our audiences will for our clients. And then also connect to the social media manager community. I think that social media is unique, like, because if one account posts a trend and it's really funny and people are engaging, it's not just a loss on me. I'm not just like, oh wow, good for them, I can't do anything about it. It's like I can do the same thing. And so it's really great to stay connected. So some tools for success. I love the HeyOrca community or customer service, like especially with Meta, like calling out Meta. They have some crazy stuff going on in that platform. So I love to be able to just like use the customer service and say, I'm having this issue. I can't figure this out. Okay, I'm not crazy. Like it's Meta and they can help me through it. I've definitely used this a few times for that. Also, again, the newsletters and webinars, really great to just keep up with like all of the changes on the platform. So if I'm seeing something crazy, I'm like, oh, okay, I can see, I saw that in the HeyOrca newsletter, like I knew it was coming. This is also really helpful for me to bring to the rest of the agency that I work at and say, hey, expect this update. We need to change, the size of the creative because Instagram has new grid sizes, things like that. It's really helpful. And then lastly, just the overall HeyOrca community. This is definitely one of the best tools that we use to create community for our clients. We have actually been using HeyOrca since 2017 at Civilian. I've only been at Civilian for a little over a year. And I can definitely say like, I've used all of the different tools before, pretty much like a ton of them. And, they have all of the kind of basic things, but the community that HeyOrca has is what really makes them stand out, makes the difference, and just makes me feel more connected. So I definitely love that. It's super helpful. And like I said, I think the more that we kind of work together and help each other in the social media world, like the more we benefit, which is awesome. So yeah, I have some of our Civilian socials on the slide, but that's really everything that I have for this presentation. The next would just be Q&A. I haven't looked too much at the chat. So, and again, apologies for the cutting in and out. Hopefully it wasn't too tough, but yeah. So any questions coming through?
Holly, that was so good. And I know you haven't been looking at the chat, so just want to let you know there's a lot of love in the chat for you. People have been really learning a lot from your presentation. And thank you also for coming back every time the internet. I needed to hear the presentation. Yeah, that was not your fault. So thank you for dealing with that. I do think we have some time for maybe a couple of questions that I've been collecting. So there's some interest, I think, in Civilian as an agency. So someone asked, how big is the communications team at Civilian?
Yeah, we have a few different departments that work on social. Actually, I'm part of the digital team where we do both organic and paid social, and then we also work in tandem with our communications department, and then together we work with account services. So kind of a few different departments. Civilian overall is around we have between 30, I think around 35 staff. So we're mid-size as an agency.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. We had here's an interesting question actually. Look at me jumping around. Okay, so Julie's asking, since you have different audiences within a single campaign, how do you schedule the various types of content without over posting? Are you posting different content on Twitter versus Facebook versus Instagram?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, because that is a challenge that we ran into is we want to speak to youth, but also speak to parents and caregivers. So we have posted a few different kinds of content, especially like TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram. It's pretty similar. We're mostly speaking towards youth, but then on Facebook, we'll do things that are a little bit heavier on, education and resources. But I think one of the biggest things is just again with including the audience in the content. Like I showed examples of different creators and community members that we include in the content that were young, but we also included parents and we had them share their story as well. And we worked with parents who like parent influencers. And so that's another thing we did too, is just make sure that we had both of them represented in the content. And then in terms of not over posting, I think, yeah, just kind of like segmenting for the different platforms. And then, just always keeping, again, an eye on the calendar and kind of the different dispersal throughout the month of just, not going too heavy throughout a week or a day.
Awesome. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, here's another question. How long do you typically run campaigns for at your agency?
Yeah. So the Never Bother campaign, I think that one was maybe around a couple years. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. Like there's a lot of it depends more so on the government organizations that we're working with. And so a lot of that is kind of up to them. It's not up to us most of the time.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense too. We do have quite a few questions. I think we might have time for one or two more, so I'll just jump into this one. Holly, do you have an approximate breakdown of how much more top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel content you're posting for these causes? So, for example, is it like 80% at the top, and then 15 in the middle, and then 5 at the bottom, or what does that breakdown look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it changes. I tend to like to do a little bit heavier on the more top of funnel just because that is super important to get people to connect, especially at the beginning of a campaign. I would say like it's great to have information about, what the campaign is, but obviously like if you're wanting to get new audiences, that's super important. So I would say it depends kind of on your goal. If it's more towards attracting new audiences and that unfamiliar audience, I would definitely go heavier towards the top, maybe at least like 50% or more. And then if you're, maybe the campaign's been going on for a little while, at least a year or so, then you could go a little bit heavier on the more second, middle, and bottom tier. But it can change. I've also like a big part of what determines that too is just how is the content performing. Like if nobody cares about, certain content, like I'll go a little bit less of it. Like if the middle tier content, nobody was engaging with that, like I wouldn't totally lose it because it's important to the campaign. But I would maybe, if I was posting that like 60% of the time, I would maybe go down to 40. So it also depends on, just how it's performing too.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. I think that was like a really good, thorough answer. And I think we'll end it there. We're just about at time. So I just want to thank everyone again for attending. Especially thank you, Holly, for your presentation. Again, so much love for you in the chat. And I think it was a really helpful session. As another reminder, this session is recorded, so we will send everyone the recording once it's done processing, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, but we will get it out to you. So awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Holly.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.